All right. With that, I would like to call this meeting of the town board of the town of Northeast to order. It is Thursday, November 14th, 2024 at 7 o'clock. And I would like to ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Emily, could you conduct a roll call
Yes. Supervisor Kenneth,
here?
Councilwoman Morrison. Here. Councilman Fideli,
Here.
Councilwoman Winkler. Here. Councilman Mayville.
Here.
Here.
All right, I have distributed a copy and we posted a copy of the agenda for the meeting. I have a number of additions to the agenda. Unfortunately, no subtractions. We have an item concerning a speed reduction on Route 22. And we have a we will be calling a special meeting of the board for next week to finalize the budget. And in addition, there is a resolution concerning the gun club that I'd like to add to the agenda. I think those are the items that we've talked about. And at the end of the evening, I would like to ask for an executive session to discuss pending litigation.
Discuss what? I couldn't hear
Discuss pending litigation. With that, I would like to ask for a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Couple of comments before we start this evening's meeting, and this evening's meeting is really an important one. The centerpiece of the meeting is the presentation of the report of the zoning review committee, which has been meeting for 4 years to revise the zoning of the boulevard. And their work is finished up, and I'm very glad that Edie Greenwood is going to be able to is able to be here and to give us an overview of the changes that are in place for the boulevard. And that is a big item. The other big item is the public hearing on the town's budget. And those two are certainly centerpieces of this evening's meeting. Couple of other comments. One is, first of all, congratulations to Councilman Chris Mayville on his election to the town board, or re-election to the town, no, your election to the town board. And we also have some good news about the supermarket. The closing on the supermarket is scheduled for tomorrow. So the new owner will obviously need time to get things ready and to prepare it. And that may take some time because it has not been, as everybody knows, hasn't been a supermarket for quite a while. But this is a big step forward. And this involves the actual sale of the property and purchase of the property. So this hopefully will be a really bright new day for Millerton and for our community. And the other item that I should mention is that the burn ban, which I have referenced in a email, has now been extended by New York State for the rest of the month of November. It is a statewide ban on outdoor burning. And I'm gonna put out another notice about that. Things continue to be very, very dry. There have been fires in the Hudson Valley, some in Dutchess County, some across the river. And it's important that we not let those get going. With that, I would like to have our department and committee reports. And start with Highway Department. Bob?
I advertised a surplus air compressor on Auctions International for sale. The high bid was $1,625, which it's a very good price, and I wondering if the board would like to accept it.
We occasionally, when we have items which we no longer are able to use, we are able to put them out on auction so that the town receives value for things that are still functional, but which we don't need. And this is a good example of it. I looked at the auction results. The bidding started, I believe, at $25 and ended up at the price that you just mentioned to us. And there were 90 bids on this particular air compressor. So I feel that the town is done well in the sale of this surplus air compressor, and I would ask for a motion to authorize Bob to accept this bid on the surplus air conditioner, the air compressor.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else, Bob?
All I have,
Yeah, what have you had people doing? What has the highway department been up to?
doing a lot of tree work, stump grinding.
Hmm.
And got a lot of work done.
Okay, good. Well, the weather continues to be favorable, so
Yes.
we'll see. Anyway. The next item is a report from our assessor, Catherine.
I just wanted to pop in your report of what's going on lately in my office. It's been a while since I saw you. We ended up 2024's roll very well. We had no small claims actions or no new certiorari actions this year, so that's wonderful. And we got through school bills with no glaring errors popping out. So we put that one to rest, and we're working on 2025. We've started the process of exemptions, our most fun time of year. I started sending them out. We'd like to send them early, but people do have till March 1st to get their exemption applications in. Get the nonprofits and the seniors going early so we can get them in before winter sets in. So that's where we are now, and we've begun the fun task of exploring what the market is looking like. And just started my analysis and started conversations with the state on their analysis. I just want to give you a brief update. I don't have any numbers for you yet, but I can tell you that the market in this town is still quite strong. It should be a good thing. I know it's kind of a scary thing, as we've been talking the last few years, and we've had a lot of assessment increases because of it. But it is definitely a good thing. Shows that the market is strong, not falling, not failing, but it's still rising pretty steadily. We had kind of slowed down. I was hoping to tell you we were slowing down and stopping, but things have bumped up again. And I just happened upon this interesting report from an actual realtor, big realtor in the state. And so it's a market report from all of Westchester, Putnam, and Dutchess, but then they kind of zone in on Dutchess County, and then we zone in into particular regions of the county. Sometimes it's hard to believe, but I just printed you a few pages of that would be relevant, but I just wanted to point out that they're finding Dutchess County continuing to face inventory constraints. So there's a lot of things have sold already, and there's not much on the market. And that usually tends to make things kind of peter out. But we're holding strong. Overall sales and prices have risen. The average sale price in Dutchess climbed 15%. This is their finding from their own analysis. And then when they kind of drilled down into northern direction, so I often say I see a big number like that, I think, okay, it's a big county, or a small little section, wider neighborhood of the whole county. Maybe we're not quite as crazy as that, but when they drill down into the northeast Dutchess, which will include our town, Amenia, Pine Plains, Stanford, and Washington, they still found that our region is looking at 17% increases over last year. So these are significant numbers.
Mhm.
And my initial analysis wasn't quite that high, but I just wanted to show you that this is what, they're taking sales, that they're seeing from everywhere. I'm not sure how they're doing the analysis, so I can't say that this is it.
These are sales of residential properties.
Residential. We're only talking residential, single family.
And are these raw land or are these parcels with buildings?
It would be single family homes.
Okay,
So my analysis will be broader, 2-family, 3-family, apartments then also go into more to the commercial realm. My analysis will also include, we have a lot of camps, so it's not, this isn't the end all be all. But just as a preliminary picture, I wanted to not to surprise you when the time rolls around that we talk about where assessments are going, that there will be increases this year, if we choose to stay at 100%, which is, I have over the last few years argued that we should, to keep things equal, equitable, and understandable for the public.
Mhm.
That's where we are. If you're interested in the full report, I can get it for you. If anyone's interested, I just wanted to show you a couple things and see what is out there.
We've sometimes talked about the need at some point for revaluation of the town. Are you still looking at that as maybe 26 or 27?
I was hoping, my initial thought was when things calm down, I'd like to, when things are steady, I'd like to do it. Because if we're doing a reval, as we did in the early mid-2000s, when things were just going up year to year, it caused a lot of issues and people were very unhappy with the results. And when I came in and we did a new one in 2011, we kind of cleaned up. I think that what was a kind of a big mess, and part of that mess was because we were just trying to reval in a market that was changing so rapidly. So I'm hoping to do it. I want to do it. This was my plan a few years ago. But in this market, I think it's best to see where things go. Right now, if everything's moving at such tremendous numbers, it's easy to, for me to analyze and trend the town at these numbers instead of doing individual deep dive into individual parcels, which a revaluation would do. If we choose to do it, I'm happy to explore that with you guys. We should definitely talk more about it. But that's my initial thoughts is let's wait and see when things kind of steady out, and then we'll have a nice good pool of sales to do a real strong revaluation.
Yes,
Yeah,
Are we required to send out postcards again this year to people about enhanced style and senior?
that law has not been amended in any way, so right now it's still going to be in place, yes. And as far as I know, the county will be assisting us again, as they have in the last few years, and it's been going rather smoothly. They did expand the law in the sense that, they don't want us only to, alert people of the senior exemption, but they're now including the, disabled exemption, veterans exemption. They want to just make sure everybody knows about everything that's out there. They started with seniors, but they're like, well, if we're talking about that one, let's not talk about it all. So there might be a slight change in the postcard, and so we, be working on that with the county to see how much words we can cram onto a little piece of paper, but that is what they're requiring us to do now, yes.
Thank you.
You may have seen, if anyone gets their school tax, or their tax bills, they did have a slightly different stuff on the back. In response to that law, they had a little bit more of a paragraph talking about exemptions on the school tax bill, so that's gonna repeat through any bill that comes through or any correspondence that I put out about it.
great.
Anything else?
Any other questions for the assessor? Anyway, we thank you for all you do.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tilly,
Yeah, so the department reports have been sent previously to the board. I just wanted to tell you that the hunting season officially the shooting season starts this weekend, November 16th. And so far, we've sold 134 licenses in the last 12 weeks. I also have to report that I filed an email complaint from David Decker written November 5th, 2 emails that day regarding gunfire at the Milton Gun Club. So I had those in my office.
And he wanted that noted.
He wanted that noted, yes.
Okay. Now. Town board committee activities. There's been some activity in the housing area, very visibly.
Yeah.
Meg, do you wanna,
Yeah, I mean, the Habitat House has been lifted, well, it arrived last Tuesday afternoon, which 2 parts, and then the crane came on Wednesday to put it up. And since, I mean, the inside, when I toured it on Tuesday, was just amazing, and the quality is very good. There's still volunteer opportunities, and on the app that we have listed on the website and the Habitat for Humanity volunteer portal. The next opportunity is next Tuesday, the 19th, for porch attic trim work, and then it continues through December. So I think their goal is to clean up in December 13th, and landscaping might have to wait till next year, depending on the weather. But they're really moving along quickly, but definitely volunteers are needed for these other, like, wall prep, sheetrock, and most of the walls have sheetrock already. The kitchen's all there, everything's there, so it's pretty amazing. So
Wow.
good news.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's, I think, outside of, we have on the agenda for the pro housing.
we'll come to that.
Yeah.
Buildings and grounds. The new town highway garage is in full operation. And I think that all the reports that we have from Bob and from the highway crew have been that it is a wonderful building and is enabling work to be done, and a lot of the maintenance work to be done more efficiently and more quickly than it used to be. And I think that's a great step forward. So I think that the site there is working well. As people know, we have purchased a building, the former Jehovah's Witnesses building, to be converted into a new town hall. And we've started the design work on that. We've run into a little mold issue. We have sought out some contractors to remediate that. We've got some proposals from them. I'm hoping to bring those to the board maybe as soon as next week at our special meeting. And that will be cleaned up before the end of the year so that we can get the actual work of renovating it and turning a Kingdom Hall into a proper town hall. It's still a great site, and I think it's going to be a terrific town hall when we get there. And we still have funds from the ARPA, which was this was the money that was given out to towns, which can be used for this particular project. And in the meantime, we are enjoying this wonderful old building, which is not ADA compliant and is why we have to move. But it is a building that has served the town very well for a long, long time. And I think everybody who works here secretly really loves this building. So it's going to be a change. Let me see. Next item we have. I don't think we have anything on personnel, anything on cemetery.
Yeah,
Ralph?
the Friends of Spencer's Corners Burying Ground has been working up with Paul Beneke and Jim Campbell, David Shapiro. We've put together a list of volunteers that are going to be working on the cemetery post-thaw next spring. And the plan is a 2-day work session with volunteers. And within those 2 days, they're hoping to straighten out and raise about 10 smaller stones. To do that, we've got to get some stone, gravel and to support the stones. But we're waiting in the spring. Once the thaw hits, we'll start the project. So hopefully by next summer, it'll look a lot nicer.
Mhm. Well, it's still a very special location. And I think this is wonderful work. It's difficult work because this is hard. This is hard to raise
Oh,
money
yeah.
for for old burying grounds, but this is a special one, as we've talked about before. It's the oldest one in the town. It's where the town originally started, was up at Spencer's Corners. There was no Millerton, there was Spencer's Corner. And so it's a very meaningful burying ground for us. So I think your work and the work of your committee is great, and I know that we won't, the town undertakes to mow it in the summertime. We try and mow it several times a year, but that doesn't, the monuments that have fallen over due to frost and freezing and heaving and so on need to be put back up, and you've started that work and it's great. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is that I mentioned as an addition to the agenda is a request to the state to permit a speed reduction on Route 22 from Sawchuck down to the village line. This has a curious history. We actually sought a speed reduction 4 years ago from the county and the state for this same piece of road. And with the completion, nothing happened with it, and it somehow has gotten lost in the state or the county or God knows where. Nothing happened. And so we're going to raise this again with the county and the state. Since then, the highway garage has been completed. We have big snow plows, other big equipment moving onto the road and off the road there. We have Winchell Mountain Road coming down. We have Bilkey Road coming into that section of road. It is 55 miles an hour, and then it hits the village line and it drops to 30. And it is just inappropriate. And we're going to ask the state to permit us to reduce the speed on that. So we have a resolution.
You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Resolution requesting the New York State Department of Transportation and Dutchess County Department of Public Works to lower the speed limit on Route 22 from Sawchuck Road to the Village of Millerton line. Whereas New York State Route 22 is a state road going through the town of Northeast with a section from Sawchuck Road to the Village of Millerton that has seen increased traffic and dangerous intersections. And whereas the town of Northeast has recently constructed a new town highway garage in this section of road with heavy snow plows and other machinery entering onto and exiting from this section of Route 22. And whereas the highway superintendent and the town board have determined that the current speed limit of 55 miles per hour on this portion of Route 22 is too high, resulting in hazardous and dangerous conditions. And whereas on entering the Village of Millerton, the speed limit suddenly drops from 55 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour without warning. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby requests that the New York State Department of Transportation lower the speed limit on New York State Route 22 between Sawchuck Road and the Village of Millerton from 55 miles per hour to 45 miles per hour. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to send a copy of this resolution together with a TE9A form to the Dutchess County Department of Public Works to initiate the process.
Thank you. Is there any comment from the town board on this? Hearing none.
Makes sense.
Unless, I think it makes a lot of
Yes.
sense. As anybody who's pulled out of Bilkey Road or
Yeah.
come down off Winchell Mountain or going in and out of the highway garage knows. It's a problem. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
You want to do a roll call on this?
Yes. Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Fidele,
Aye.
Councilman Mayville, Councilwoman Morrison. Aye. Councilwoman Winkler.
Aye.
Okay. 5-0.
Thank you. The next item is the resolution of adoption of the Pro Housing Communities Pledge. We discussed this at our last board meeting. And this is an initiative of New York State to encourage communities to in turn encourage the development, construction, and enabling of more housing in each community. And this was an outgrowth of an initiative of the governors of a year ago in which it was a different approach, and it was one in which towns were really being told what to do, and the state was reserving the right to override local planning and zoning. And this is a different approach. It is much more like the Climate Smart Communities initiative, in that it is encouraging towns to do something in this area. And those towns that do make progress in this are able to have greater access to grants that are relevant to housing. And we discussed this at the last board meeting, and we have a resolution now of adoption of this Pro Housing Communities Pledge. We also did, I did communicate with Edie Greenwood, the chair of the Zoning Review Committee, about this and to what degree this initiative is congruent with the work of the Zoning Review Committee, and her report was it is completely congruent with that work. So with that, we have a resolution.
Okay,
Um,
I'm good.
Billy?
Yeah. Congrats. Resolution adopting the Pro Housing Pledge. Whereas the town of Northeast, hereinafter local government, believes that the lack of housing for New York residents of all ages and income levels negatively impacts the future of New York State's economic growth and community well-being, and whereas the housing crisis has negative effects at regional and local levels, and whereas we believe that every community must do their part to contribute to housing growth and benefit from the positive impacts a healthy housing market brings to communities. And whereas we believe that supporting housing production of all kinds in our community will bring multiple benefits, including increasing housing access and choices for current and future residents, providing integrated, accessible housing options that meet the needs of people with sensory and mobility disabilities, bringing economic opportunities and vitality to our communities, and allowing workers at all levels to improve their quality of life through living closer to their employment opportunities. And whereas we believe that evidence showing that infill development that reduces sprawl and supports walkable communities can have significant environmental and public health benefits. And whereas we believe that affirmatively furthering fair housing and reducing segregation is not only required by law, but is essential for keeping our communities strong and vibrant. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the town of Northeast, in order to take positive steps to alleviate the housing crisis, adopts the Pro Housing Communities Pledge, which will have us endeavor to take the following important steps. 1, streamlining permitting for multifamily housing, affordable housing, accessory dwelling units, and supportive housing. 2, adopting policies that affirmatively further fair housing. 3, incorporating regional housing needs into planning decisions. 4, increasing development capacity for residential uses. 5, enacting policies that encourage a broad range of housing development, including multifamily housing, affordable housing, accessible housing, accessory dwelling units, and supportive housing. That's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any comment from the board? on this?
I'm thrilled.
With that, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call.
Would you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Supervisor Kennen,
Aye.
Councilman Morrison. Aye. Councilman Fidele,
aye.
Councilman Winkler,
Aye.
Councilman Mayville.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Um, we have a public hearing scheduled for 7:30, and it is now just past 7:30. And so I would like to move to open the public hearing on the budget, and we will come back to the audit for the town justice court afterwards, after that. The budget for the town was presented at our last board meeting. It has been available for inspection in the office of the town clerk. And at this time, we have a public hearing on the budget. After we have the public hearing, the town board will have a chance to discuss the budget. And as I've mentioned before, we will have a special meeting next week to actually adopt the budget. We will not be adopting the budget tonight. So with that, I would like to ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the public hearing on the town's budget is open. If anybody would like to speak to the town budget, now is your opportunity. Mr. Bissell,
Haven't had an opportunity to see the budget, but I'm wondering, is there any additional money for housing?
there is no specifically earmarked money for housing. There are parts of the budget which relate to housing in terms of planning and so on. But we don't have the kind of money to construct housing or build housing. So in that sense, we do not have any. However, we have just finished, as I've talked about earlier, the zoning review committee has finished its work. That process now moves to the town board. And the town board will be looking to engage counsel to advise us as we review the work of the ZRC. So that is, that money, you could say, will affect housing, because as you will hear, the changes in the zoning for the boulevard do involve housing.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
While we're on the budget, we might as well finish up the budget discussion. Since the budget was presented to the town, we have been dealing with the very large item, which I've written about, talked about, which is the EMS services for the town. As pretty much everybody knows, the town has a contract with Northern Dutchess Paramedics. And so does the town of Amenia, and so does the town of Dover Plains. We are actually in a contract together, but as individual towns. And that contract expires at the end of December, so we have been negotiating with Northern Dutchess Paramedics over their proposed increase. The increase that they had proposed was written about, we've talked about at previous meetings. was really just overwhelmingly intolerable for the town. It was a huge increase. And we have worked with the towns of Dover and Amenia and Northeast, including Millerton, have talked with them about changing their approach. And we have negotiated their reduction, basically their proposed price increase to cut it roughly in half. The reasons for their increase are that they were locked into a contract for 5 years, which each year had a 2% increase. And going through the period of COVID, and since then, as everybody knows, we have seen inflation in all kinds of different items in labor costs, and particularly in materials, especially medical costs. The cost of an ambulance itself has gone up dramatically. So they were basically struggling to deliver the service to the town during these past few years. There are two EMS providers in the county, basically two. The other one is called Empress, and it works over in the western and southwestern corner of the county. And their price structure is very different, but we did reach out to them. We asked them to give us a proposal. Their proposal that they came back with was wildly much more expensive, even than Northern Dutchess paramedics. So we have in the budget now the reduced, it's still a large increase for Northern Dutchess paramedics. But it is a reduction from what we had in the first budget that was presented. We also have been able to reduce the amount that the town would take from our fund balance. That fund balance, for those who are not familiar with it, is essentially a savings account that the town has. It's a reserve account. It is a rainy day fund, if you want to think of it that way. Towns are strongly encouraged by the state comptroller to keep a reserve that should be, they won't put a number on it in terms of how many months of operations you should be able to go through with your reserve, but it is certainly many months. And some towns have a couple of months of reserves. Some towns have a whole year of reserves. Anyway, we are able to not use as much of that for our budget for this year as we had previously thought. And when we meet next week, we will have a chance to go through the budget and hopefully to approve the budget. Any other comments or thoughts from the board on the budget? Other than that,
You wanna go ahead and set?
yes, we can set the time for the special budget meeting for next Tuesday evening. And I believe that at least 4 of us can be here for it. And it sounds as if 5:30 PM will work. So with that, I would like to make a motion to set a special meeting of the town board next Tuesday evening at 5:30 for the purpose of going through and adopting the budget.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. Okay. Where did my agenda go? Disappeared.
Is it under a black notebook? Oh,
There it is. Thank you. The paperless office has not gotten to town hall. The next item is the presentation of the 2023 audit for the Town Justice Court. As the board is familiar, the state law requires the town to audit the town clerk, the town tax collector, and the town justice court. And we have received and accepted audits for the town clerk and the town justice court. I mean, excuse me, for the town clerk and the tax collector. And we have received now a audit from our auditors for the justice court. I have also shared with the board comments from our justices on the audit from the auditors and their response to those comments. Those comments don't change the audit. So at this point, I would be happy to entertain a motion to accept the audit of the Justice Court. I should also note that I got this evening a communication from Justice Dennis Johnson concerning the audit of the Justice Court, which I will distribute to the board. If the board would like to wait and take this up at the next monthly meeting, we can do that. We are supposed to have this done at some point, and I think we're running up against deadlines on this. The comments don't change the audit, but it's up to the board to, if you would like to accept the audit as is at this point. And you will be getting, I think tomorrow, the comments from Justice Johnson. Or we can wait and take this up at the next meeting.
So we can take action on the Tuesday meeting?
We could.
Just amend your notice of the meeting to deal with the budget and any other matters coming before the board.
We'll make sure that we do that. I think that is a nice compromise because it's not waiting till December to do that, and
very nice compromise.
So with that, we will add that to the agenda for our Tuesday meeting. The next item is a resolution expressing our request to the governor to not permit the expansion of the Iroquois pipeline. This pipeline does not go through the town of Northeast, but it does go down through the town of Dover and through a lot of Dutchess County. And it is we had a presentation at the last board meeting concerning that. We had a discussion about that. I promised the board that I would come back to you with an actual resolution expressing our position on this and our opposition to the expansion of the pipeline. And you have that in front of you now, and I would welcome any comments or a motion to approve the resolution.
I guess we mentioned last time that, you know, our resolution doesn't necessarily stop something, but it shows our concern as a community. And I feel it's very important that we're doing this, so I'm glad that this has come before us.
Yes, we are we have a plaque on the wall in the back there, which is that the town of Northeast and now more recently, the village of Millerton have been awarded bronze certification by the state for its work on climate. And I think this is entirely consistent with that. So I would welcome a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Okay.
Second and third.
The roll call.
Take a roll call.
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Fideli,
Aye.
Councilman Mayville,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison,
Aye.
Councilwoman Winkler.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item concerns a communication we received from the village of Millerton regarding the Millerton Gun Club. We have, and sort of as background on that, we have received, since I've been supervisor, in fact, from before I've been supervisor, the town has received complaints from various different people about the amount of noise coming from the gun club. This is not opposition to the use of guns. It is about the noise, which can be repetitive and going on and very intrusive. I have met with the management of the gun club on multiple occasions and expressed our desire to have them think about not having shooting on Sunday and not having shooting permitted after 5 o'clock or sundown during the day, to give people the opportunity to enjoy their evenings without gunfire. It is also a concern that the shooting at the gun club goes on without any apparent supervision. And that is something which has been brought up to the town board on multiple occasions and is also a concern. Two things. One is that I believe that there has been a change in the management of the gun club, or at least a change in the officers of the gun club. I have not met with the new officers yet, but look forward to doing that. And the second is that the town received a letter from the village of Millerton expressing the village's concern about noise from the gun club. And also, and asking the town, since the gun club is located in the town, a lot of people think it's located in the village, it's actually in the town. It would never be permitted to be located right there if it were, a new operation. It started a long time ago before there was zoning. So when people ask, how is it that you even have a gun club virtually in the middle of town? Well, this was before there was zoning. The village has sent us a letter asking us to intercede with the gun club to reduce the hours of shooting and for no shooting on Sunday and to take more action to supervise shooting when it's going on there. And as Tilly noted at the beginning, we have many times received people communicating with the town board about this as well. So I have drafted a letter to the gun club, forwarding on the village's letter and saying that I would like to meet with them to discuss what we could do, what they could do to accommodate this request for no shooting after 5 o'clock and no shooting on Sunday. And we have a resolution. Ward, I think the resolution you prepared is a resolution authorizing me to sign the letter.
That's correct.
Okay. Gotta do things the right way. So Tilly, would you read the resolution?
Resolution authoring the supervisor to send a letter to the Millerton Gun Club regarding the mitigation of noise stemming from the gun club activities. Whereas the Millerton Gun Club, located at 12 Gun Club Road in Millerton, New York, has been in operation for many years and claims the status of quote, non-conforming use, unquote, under the town zoning law. And whereas the town board has received numerous complaints from property owners and residents of both the town and Village of Millerton concerning the increase in the volume and nature of the gun club's activities, which have substantially increased from the time of the gun club's establishment. And whereas the town board has attempted without success to engage the gun club in a cooperative dialogue to address the complaints of the community regarding the noise and other disturbances from the gun club's operation. And whereas the town board has received a letter from the Village of Millerton imploring the town to take action to address these noise issues by having the gun club voluntarily agree to certain limitations on the gun club's operations and activities. And whereas the town supervisor has drafted a letter that he proposes to send to the Millerton Gun Club, which has been reviewed and approved by the town board, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to send the annexed letter to the Millerton Gun Club in the same or substantially similar form as annexed here too.
Before we vote on this, Warren, we've talked about this before, and I think one of the things that is important to bring up, and maybe you could just refresh our knowledge about this. When you have an entity that precedes zoning, it doesn't mean they have carte blanche to do anything they want forever. Is that basically correct?
Basically, but the idea of a non-conforming use is that they should be eliminated. They're not favored under law. So non-conforming use is use that was legally established prior to the adoption of the zoning code, which restricts or prohibits that use. And so we don't know exactly when the gun club was established and what the use was when the zoning law that we have now regulating gun clubs went into effect. But there was really an issue as to whether the gun club has exceeded what the use of the gun club was at the time the zoning was established and increased the intensity of the disturbance to the town. We have protections in our law, and there's decisional law in the state of New York, which provides that the municipality under these circumstances has the legislative power to control non-conforming uses, especially expanded greatly from what they were when they became a non-conforming use. So the town does have a fair amount of ammunition if it seeks to pass legislation that
Have other towns
regulates.
Have other towns in the county done something similar to that?
We did that in town of Rhinebeck when we passed these.
There was a gun club there?
Yeah, we have two gun clubs. There was one that was a real problem. And we basically required them to come in and do sound studies and, you know.
Well, the population density is increased dramatically over the years,
Yeah,
so it affects more people who live around that area.
right. If the intensity of the use and the type of use remained exactly the same, you know, we would be limited in our powers. But I think it's fair to say that the type of use that was made of the gun club when zoning first came into effect has really changed
Yeah.
over time and has become nuisance. And we have a provision in our zoning law which prohibits non-conforming uses from expanding to a point where they become a nuisance. So the town does have an arsenal of legislative remedies, but the best way to deal with this is to try to get the gun club to voluntarily impose restrictions that will mitigate the noise problem.
Well, that's what I would like to say. And Bob, public comment will be at the end and we'll welcome your comment at that time. But what I would like to point out is that what we are trying to do is to engage with the gun club in a dialogue. Not to start off by, going to court or litigating with them, but to say, we're all neighbors here and we need to operate in a neighborly way.
Correct.
And so we'll keep you posted in that regard. So we have to,
Make a motion.
I would welcome a motion to approve the resolution authorizing me to sign the letter.
So moved.
Second.
I have a roll call here.
Why
Supervisor
not?
Cannon, Supervisor Kennan,
Aye.
Councilman Fideli,
Aye.
Councilman Mayville,
I,
Councilwoman Morrison,
Aye.
Councilwoman Winkler.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I will keep you all posted on our progress. With that, we are coming to the presentation of the zoning review committee and Edie Greenwood. And Edie, do you want to come up and join us here? We need to get you a chair.
Oh, wow.
Well, or there might be one right behind Warren. Is there one there?
Yes, there's one here. And it's much
Yeah.
probably higher. All different times.
And before you start, we talked, I mentioned before how many meetings the zoning review committee had. I find that number just unbelievable, but I have to believe it because you told me that that is how many meetings, and I
They're
have a
all
feeling
posted.
you checked it. And what I would really like to point out to people is that this is a committee of volunteers who have met on 90 occasions to go through the zoning of the Boulevard District, the commercial districts of the town primarily. And those are the Boulevard District, a section of Route 22 going north from the village, and a small piece of the town out by Route 199, where the Harney Tea establishment is. But essentially, you were asked by the town to look at the commercial zoning and to see to what extent it was in need of updating, modernizing, revising, which I think all know it was greatly in need of. And I think once again, and I've said this before at your meetings, but I'd like to tonight say to you and to the members of the committee, how
Which are present.
two of which are present, how much the town appreciates all that work. That's a lot of hours of people's personal time spent trying to make this town better. And I think it is somehow fortuitous in a way that you are making this presentation the day before a large piece of property on the boulevard is going to change hands. So anyway, with that, Edie, thank you, and thank the members of the committee. And we look forward to engaging with you as we work through what you have done. And I know we'll be looking to you and calling on you for help. And the board hasn't even begun to think about how we want to do this. We probably need to engage some professional help in doing that, and we're going to need to have a conversation amongst ourselves to do that. With that,
Okay. The review is a result of the comprehensive plan, which I know all of you have copies of, which was adopted in 2019. And the logical planning progression is the comprehensive plan is a visioning document of where you want your town to go. And the next step is to incorporate those concepts, those goals in your code. So that's how it came about. And the code that we are dealing with was, goes back to the 1970s, right? And the way it's been approached when something's come that had to happen is that the towns passed local laws. So that's why we have all those inserts and books and all this. So a complete review and overhaul of a code is a very ambitious task. And we retained a consultant, Will Agresta, who has been the town planner for probably 10 years, but at least 10 years. And very knowledgeable of our situation. And Will and I grappled with where to start. And I decided actually that it made sense to start with the commercial. And there are two other sections which we have had to address because of the complexity of codes and the way it overlaps, and I'll get into that more detail. But we have not taken a substantive view of the residential or the, what we call land conservancy, our wetlands issues. However, we do address them in this because we had to. So with that, I'll start with, we have not made any changes to the outer boundaries of any of the three sections we look at. We've reconfigured the Boulevard District. It currently is 6 sections. It's gone down to 3 sections. But we've not changed the outside boundaries. And at the very back of your book, there is your book, my book too. There is a map of a draft map of what the Boulevard District, our proposal outlines. Chris had asked me to come up with 5 significant changes. I ended up with 10, I'm sorry. But we began the process with purpose statements. And we started in earnest probably at the beginning of 21. We were formed by resolution in June of 2020, but we had to find a consultant, back and forth and all that. And one of the first things that we tackled were purpose statements, and that in essence is a statement at the beginning of every major section outlining the vision. It's the tying of the narrative from the comprehensive plan into the details of the zoning affecting whatever the part is. Then we discussed, but we didn't change the boundaries of any of the districts. But we did focus on the Boulevard District. It is the biggest in terms of acreage and potential of economic development in the town. And we spent a great deal of time on reviewing and adding permitted uses to actually all of the sections, but mostly the Boulevard. And we also took the old code and we put a great deal of information that is in narrative form into chart form. And that's Herculean, and it also surfaced areas that had never been addressed. And you'll see that towards the back. There are lots of draft charts. One of the big concepts from the very beginning with respect to the Boulevard District was to bring in housing as well as allowing for commercial, retail, and service uses. In fact, I have to give credit to my friend Bob Trotta, who told me that you always imagine there should be housing over retail. And that was where we started. But there's a need and there's an interest. However, we all feel very strongly that we need to keep business in our really quite small business area. So it's a combination of that. We spent months on definitions. And the first 30 pages of what you've got are definitions. And they're keys to the kingdom, devil's in the detail. I'm not telling you that you really need to dwell on the definitions. You can get into the code and then go back and reference definitions, but definitions are terribly important. Then I've talked a little bit about permitted uses. And the expansion, bringing it up into today's world, because there are things that just didn't happen back in the 70s. And then subsequent additions and revisions. Then we spent a great deal of time on the general and supplemental use standards. But again, I'll come back to this, putting them all into chart form, which they're dense, those charts. But if you take the time, you'll see the vision. And of course, everything is a draft. But they are going to make the whole code more accessible to the users. And then we worked extensively on design standards. And things like off-street parking, landscaping, exterior lighting, signage. And there's an overlay on signs because they're Supreme Court cases, and the county, I don't know, about 5 years ago, Julie, how long? When did you try to redo signs? 5 years ago?
I think so.
At least 5 years ago, because the county has told us we had to redo signs. Has a freedom of, you tell me, what is it? No, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Yeah. And so, yeah, First Amendment rights.
Right, and content neutrality.
And content, yeah, was, and so we've spent a lot of time on signs. And fortunately, Dutchess County Planning, the lady who helped us has moved on to a better job, but she worked extensively with us on the sign section. And I'm fairly confident that Dutchess County Planning will be fine with the section in concept, which I'm greatly relieved about. Then the streamlining, reviewed our existing procedures. And then I'd say the biggest change in the procedural part of the code is the moving of the special permitting process from the Zoning Board of Appeals to the Planning Board. And that is considered best practice with planners today. And it stops the applicant having to go back and forth between boards, which can get involved.
Could you just take a second to describe what kind of application is looking for a special permit?
Well, that's in your charts. Now you'll look at the charts and it will say that a use requires a special permit as well as a site plan approval, or it can just have a site plan approval. It allows the, what we're proposing, the planning board, currently the zoning board, it gives the municipality an extra level of protection vis-a-vis a hard look and the addition of special conditions. Really. Then it's a great example of how to streamline the land use process. Now, separate from all of this, during this process, we received a grant from Pace Land Use on the streamlining of our our systems, the flow of information here in Canton Hall. And after I turn this over to you, I'm gonna go and look hard at that and see what we can do to make sure that things move as clear, slowly and seamlessly, not slowly, but quickly and seamlessly as they can, so that all the parties that need to know do know in the flow of the paperwork. Now, but I will have to tell you that, what we're handing over, the committee's handing over to you today, does include some aspects of the residential and the, land conservation, but they're far from flushed out. And, where we needed to just pull this together and make sense of a zoning document, we've either left things the way they were, or we've, been as fairly bare bones. Because there should be a part B to this process. I say we're maybe more than, well, we're definitely more than halfway through, because we have done some work on the other stuff. Maybe we're even 60% through, but there is more work to be done to complete this code, especially on the housing. So, but in terms of process, turn over your page. And the reason that it's in small print, that's small font, is had to get it fit on one page. But this is a run through of the next stages that you go through. To actually take this from our, hopefully you'll receive what I've given you tonight.
I don't think we have any choice.
I don't think you do either. And then go through these various referrals, public hearings. An EAF, preparation of an environmental assessment form. You'll do a seeker. I mean, you're gonna, it's the whole 9 yards. But Warren and your special attorney for this will guide you through the process.
Mhm.
And of course, I am here to be of any assistance, as our, my complete committee, was, Julie and Bill, who are in the audience, Ed Downey, Dave Sherman, and in the beginning, George Kent. Oh, and Dale, excuse me, thank you, yes. And all very, committed and valuable members of the committee.
One of the things which is out there, which you would not have been able to incorporate in your work, is the initiative that the town has been making, or the work that the town has been making to provide a wastewater system to the village and to the town. And
Oh, we
The-
incorporated that.
well, yes, but you don't know for sure
Oh, right.
that there is going to be one.
Yes,
And
it's an either or.
right,
You either have one or you.
I
don't.
just want to, to mention, since we are talking about this, and it is very relevant, that the village, which will be the lead on a wastewater system, and the town, which will have as its part, serve a wastewater system servicing the boulevard, only the boulevard, no other part of the town, just the boulevard. But going from CVS all the way to the Connecticut border, which is the boulevard.
Mhm.
And that work has been really moving forward with a lot of energy and speed. And we have, the village was just awarded a $5 million grant from the state towards the wastewater system,
Right.
which moves it forward enormously. Previously, we have received commitments for $4 million from the federal government, from our elected representatives in Washington. But with this additional new commitment, we are now in a position where I think we can say this thing is going to happen.
Got legs.
It's got legs. And there's still more work to be done. It's not, we don't have a goal touchdown yet, but we're a lot closer.
Right.
But I just wanted to ask to what degree you talked about that in your work.
We, in essence, assumed it would happen.
Mhm.
But we certainly have the caveat that certain things required a sewer hookup or you'd have to create septic.
Yeah.
And I think, no, very exciting because of course it allows the density to increase.
You mentioned that there were three, that you're reducing it from three
Right.
sections to, I mean, from 6 down to 3.
Yes,
Is the purpose of some of these sections to make some portions of the boulevard a little bit more like the village? Architecturally and in terms of businesses, and the section out by Connecticut less so?
we divided the current boulevard between, using roughly Kelsey Brook as the divide. And, the Legion to Cumberland is Boulevard West and, Northeast Ford or Dave's TV to the Connecticut line is, Boulevard East. Then we have a piece, a landlocked piece actually, which is currently called BD4. And we have left BD4 as is, so we're not changing any boundaries. Which, we think can, especially with sewer, make sense for housing. But at this point, we're not, we've kind of warehoused it,
Mhm.
hoping that you are going to ask us to do phase 2. So that we can really get into it. But we see that it's land that's actually on the other side of Kelsey Brook. And is currently associated with the Millerton, what I call the Millerton Super, but I don't know what parcels are being sold.
Yeah.
Again, we're only 60% done.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you ready for more questions from the board?
But certainly, one other thing I will say that in reading what I've given you, a lot of it is very straightforward, but you will run into sections that will clearly state it's a part of an existing section in the code. So you will need to understand it fully, we'll need to go to the current code to understand.
For my colleagues on the board, I think we all know that diving into this is not for the faint of heart. And not for those with very short attention spans, because this is pretty detailed stuff.
Now, Ralph used to read the comprehensive plan at bedtime.
But this is a process which other towns have gone through, and Warren, I know you've seen other towns revise their zoning.
Oh, yeah.
And some towns probably do it more often than others.
Well, you know, I hate to tell you this, but the comprehensive plan is coming up to,
10 years.
no,
What was it?
it's 19. But I think you want to get it going
The statute that says every 5 years you should.
5 to 10,
5 to 10.
but I start the process at least at 7.
Let's not do that.
No, no. Although, you know, actually, it's interesting, the committee, I think a lot of our members dug very deep and realized some of the shortcomings of this.
I'm being-
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, there's nothing like doing this
Yeah.
to see that, and
Well,
having,
the shortcomings, not so much in the vision, but in the boulevard, it's being a perfect example. it would have been most helpful had it been a deeper dive at this point. And we had to do that deeper dive at our point. So
Yeah,
you learn by doing.
yeah.
And I also have to thank you and Lana and then Meg for all the, and Ralph occasionally, for being as interested in our process as we were. Being able to come to the meetings. Which unfortunately are always at 4:30. Yes.
But now there'll be our meetings.
Yes. Yes. So yes, I'm open to questions, but also will, of course, will make himself available and come to meet with you in person. When and if you would like.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't know what our timetable will be. I think we are going to probably take some time at a future meeting, probably not on Tuesday. To maybe we may do a workshop meeting to actually work through this, because this is heavy stuff, and there's a lot of content here, and one of the things that I certainly was struck by is how many of the items in this little change, a definition, something like that, can change a lot of things. You define something slightly differently, and you've either permitted or made not permitted a particular activity or a size of something. So it's a lot to.
And this document
Get
does give a great deal of discretion to the planning board.
Mhm.
And be careful and look for when it says shall and when it says may. Big difference.
Mhm. Those are important words.
They are important words.
Any other questions from members of the board?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
An extra copy in there.
You'll get,
We're gonna.
we'll get you
And,
one.
and the other supplementary, like this, I'm assuming.
We'll get you everything,
Yeah.
Warren.
And this is Will's cheat sheet
Right,
for the two, the draft. and-
No, I-
Yeah, you figured that one.
but I borrowed it from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, we'll get you a copy.
We'll get you one.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else that I've
No, that's-
forgotten?
No, just
Okay, with that, we would welcome any public comment, and just to remind members of the public, this is your opportunity to share with us what is on your mind. It's not a question and answer session. It is just an opportunity for comment on what we've done, or anything else that's on your mind. And I know that, Bob, you had your hand up earlier and I made you wait.
I'm still waiting.
Go ahead.
Now, okay, a couple of things. It was interesting, Liz, to hear your, the comments on the gun club. I'm a neighbor over there, but I never hear of that. I just talked to Julie, she didn't hear anything either. But apart from that, thinking about the conundrum you're in, and it being the proximity of the gun club to neighborhoods. And thinking historically, what has happened at the gun club. One of the difficulties you now have, if there's more going on over there now. Warren, I think you're correct, that, you can. Put the brakes on some of it. One of the ways you can put the brakes on. Is. To consider that the gun club was started for the members of this community down in Northeast. It would not be unreasonable, I don't believe, to sit down with the gun club and discuss with them their membership. Who are the members? Where are they coming from? There's, last time, we got a fair number, a gun club member, we got a fair number of people who don't reside in the town of Northeast. utilizing the gun club, okay? And I think that you may have some justification and take a look at the membership rules at the time the zoning was passed. See, I would guess it was basically down northeast people or Millerton people. There may be a lot different today. And if you find that's the case, you may be able to go back and revisit the activities of the gun club. And do it lawfully. I've got one other question now, and that is, Edie, what do you do with the tennis courts? Over in the, over the,
Recreational use is totally permitted in our draft
all right, okay,
in Boulevardies.
it does? Okay.
Yes.
Over there with the,
Where Randy's been in touch.
Yeah. Bob, I'm just gonna remind you that this is public comment to the board, if you don't mind.
I understand.
Yeah.
And what I need is a little basic information here too. Well, let's talk about what you presented to the board. And I'll phrase it that way. I wonder what you've done about height. Any provisions regarding height of buildings where you've got indoor tennis courts? Because I'm told, I just signed a contract, and told they wanted to take 9 acres over there and develop the large tennis complex. And they tell me that they need at least 50-foot height for buildings. And because tennis balls, you know, they hit way up in the air. And I don't know what you're proposing, but that would be a way to kill it. If you didn't allow something like that. And I don't know if that's what you want to do. And having said that, that's why I came tonight, so far about 50 feet. Because I think it's limited, it's reasonably why I looked at some plans. And that's about it, guys. But I did want to thank Edie and her group for the relentless work that they've done on this over these 4 years. And it's amazing. And I have read little summaries as you've been going on. And all I can think of when I read it sounds like, remember this, the Greek story about Sisyphus? Pushing the stone up the hill, and you go up a foot, but you come back 2 feet. It sounded to me like that's what you were going through. But needless to say, you've done a great job. I don't know why you're only 60% done after 4 years. That would amaze me. Hopefully you've got something to present to the board they can work with, and to get this thing going, get it passed. That's all. Thank you for your good work.
Thank you.
Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, you mentioned, Chris, that you were going to probably engage a planner to look at this document and make recommendations. Is that correct? You said engage a planner for after this is submitted and to look at it. So that would be something which I think would be very valuable. The second part of that is I respect, and I'm incredibly appalled that it took 4 years to get this out. 50% of that was without the housing incorporated into the discussion. That was just off the table. So when that got onto the table, and now we're talking about a part B, which means to address some of the housing that we've neglected to address before now, which means another delay of significant time to come up with a total, which should have been done in the beginning if we had envisioned housing in the first place. So I think that these kinds of delays and the questions and issues that are coming up, where developers are chafing at the bit to get some unprescriptive options for the development of a walkable community, that really has to be kind of discussed with the committee of the town board, the housing committee, as well as with with Edie's product as well as the product that's gonna come. It's gonna clarify what's available for housing and what isn't. In terms of housing, affordable housing was mentioned because that's very important to us. But no developer is gonna do affordable housing without the market rate housing. So the whole thing is much broader once you bring in housing. And the whole concept of, various elements of housing costs, is really critical. So that we have a wide open, this is an awful lot of land it's got some ways to expand, and it expand in a very attractive and sort of magnetic way as far as not just extension of the village, but to make it something where the surrounding villages would really come flock in with an interesting overall plan. And I think a planner who could conceive of that overall, not just specifying properties, could come in and enlighten us with that. I think it would be extremely valuable.
Thank you. Mr. Covert.
I'd like to publicly thank Mr. Bob Stevens for his assistance. Reading through some FOIL information that Tilly was nice enough to get for me. We came across and I say we, it's myself and my co-owners, a document from Morrison Associates dated July 29th, 2015. And it basically says that we, the landowners, are in violation of New York State Highway Law, section 213. For work that we never did on our property. We never authorized anybody to do on our property. Or the people that own the property before us. So accordingly, I've asked Mr. Stevens about what permits I need to do to fix this problem. I've also had to contact my insurance company and ask them about my liability, which they have recommended that I either double or quadruple. Like I said, we never authorized this work to be done. Very unfair to stand here and say the Pledge of Allegiance and use the words "and justice for all," when that's all we've been asking for and not getting. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
The subject of this.
Can you just state your name for the record?
Sorry, Jim Cole. Just following up on our letter from the Friends of State Line Road on the speed reduction request. I know the board passed a resolution to request a speed reduction to 30 miles an hour. Wondering what the next steps will be for that. Just want to keep that on the agenda. And also whether or not there's any possibility of at some point moving forward on acquiring a digital readout speed sign for the town. And I say for the town because if it's portable, it could be used in different areas. And I see speeding as a concern more than just on State Line Road. It's also a concern in a few other areas like Irondale and Donkey Road and now Route 22 as well.
Any other comments? Anything that is raised as a question, I'd be happy to get back to people afterwards. Now, we have. Bunch of financial. Areas to go through. I can find these guys. We have a budget adjustment, number 9. Budget adjustment number 9, November 14th, 2024.
Right.
A fund, an expense increase of $4,210, less an expense decrease of $4,210 for a net of 0. B fund, general town outside, an expense increase of $5,102, less an expense decrease of $5,102. DB fund. An expense increase of $1,467, less a revenue increase of $1,467 for a net of 0. Water district, SW1, an expense increase of $17, less an expense decrease of $17. Could I ask for a motion to approve budget adjustment number 9?
So moved.
Second.
No, seconded by Meg. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Now, where did the rest of these go? Yeah, we'll find them. They can try hiding, but they can't hide forever.
Okay.
Have a special abstract dated October 22nd, 2024, totaling $13,084.05, broken down as follows. A fund, $3,399.95. DB fund, $9,684.10. Could I ask for a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Second.
And seconded by Chris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
11, 14. Here you go, Ralph. And I have an abstract dated November 14th, 2024. Totaling $342,338.55, broken down as follows. A fund, $49,903.49. B fund, $12,377.50. DB fund, $279,542.58. Water district, SW1, $64.01. TNA2 escrow, $192.50. Payroll TNA, $258.47. Could I ask for a motion to accept the abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The voucher committee for December would be Lana Morrison and Chris Mayville. And then Tilly has sent you all minutes from the meeting of October 10th. 2024. Have you all had a chance to look at those? Is there any corrections or edits? Otherwise,
Tiny little thing.
Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of October 10th, 2024.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Meg, seconded by Lana. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. With that, we are at the end of our regular meeting. We are now going to enter into an executive session to discuss pending litigation, rather. So I would like to thank everybody for coming and look forward to seeing you at future meetings.
If any of the board members would like a copy of the report, I have it.
Okay,
I'd like it.
would you leave it with Tilly maybe in the clerk's office?
There are actually some copies.
Okay, well, that's very convenient. She can give them out.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Billy.
Right.
Revised copy of the budget proposal?
It's-
Or was it the one that was online?
it's online. It's not revised yet.
Oh, okay, so the adjustment to the annual.
We'll be looking at-
Baked into the new one?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah,
and that'll be published before you vote next week?
we will be considering them at our meeting next week.
on Tuesday,
Okay,
That's
is that open to the public?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Tuesday at 5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
And the review.
Oh, Brian Wall, I don't know how to street.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
I
Good.
haven't seen you for a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I thought you missed me, so I can.
Thanks for coming.
It's neat.
Oh, you signed up for the newsletter?
I am, that's why that's how I found out about the reduction that you guys are gonna get. I just wanna make sure, I was hoping that it get baked into the new budget. So, why not?
Great.
Hold on a second. I'm going to.
Thank you.